what are your feelings and thoughts as we see this story develop from last night?
Well, I mean, I think that for me personally, I'm a little bit different than the kind of sentiments that have been expressed by a lot of people, because obviously you find this reprehensible and disgusting, and it's incredibly sad, and we get all of that. But there's, forgive the figurative smirk that might end up, covering my face or draping my face, because to me, it's just folks displaying their ignorance. And the more they put it on display, the more it enlightens a lot of people in white America about what black America has been telling them about for so many years, decades, spanning centuries, for crying out loud. This is not new. This is something that we've known existed for a long time. This is something we know will continue to exist, and there is no way around it. And so there comes a point in time where you have to accept that reality. One of the things that I would encourage everybody to go watch, if you get an opportunity, you can go on Netflix and you can watch that documentary 13 by Ava DuVernay, along with others, who did a sensational job of addressing mass incarceration in the United States of America. And one of the things they highlighted is that under the Nixon administration, where you're literally talking about, white folks that are hippies, and you associate them with marijuana, and you associate black folks with crack cocaine, and as a result, that will ultimately galvanize folks in your favor, because they'd be scared to death, and you'd be hearing words like law and order ad nauseum. That was in the 60s, for crying out loud. We're in 2020, and we're hearing the same thing now. You just have to open your eyes. You have to pay attention to the parallels. You have to pay attention to the correspondence that's taking place right before your very eyes. Throughout our history, we have had people that have been adroit at laying low, in controlling the narrative, manipulating the narrative, switching things to their favor, all in an effort to maintain or to retain power. It's the kind of thing that has been taking place, and usually they've been incredibly skilled at remaining in the dark and saying it's them, it's not us, it's them, it's not us. Well, guess what? Things are coming to light more and more in this day and age. I find that a cause for celebration, not a cause, to be saddened by anything. I find these to be incredibly beautiful times, as difficult as it may be. The fact that our nation appears to be becoming more enlightened than ever before, and ultimately, as a result, we're coming together. I find that to be a huge plus, not a minus. And if the ignorance has to showcase itself, and if the ignorant has to showcase themselves in order for this to happen, coming out of the dark, to me, that's a cause for celebration.
Marcus?
I'm right there with you, Stephen A. And that's what I alluded to earlier, man. Just come on out. Show us who you are so we know how to deal with you, and everybody that's for right knows how to deal with you. Listen, there has been, we've been having this conversation for a long time. I mean, we had this conversation when Cap kneeled about police brutality. We talked about race and all of that. And man, if you look around in social, there were people literally on Twitter last night saying Bubba Wallace did this for attention. What? What are you talking about? Like, it's not unfathomable that someone could do that. We saw Jesse Smollett, and I'm gonna make reference to that because people can conjure up things to create narratives to make people overreact. That's why I said earlier, G, and Stephen A, I'm not, dude, this emotional roller coaster, I'm getting off of it, right? Like, I'm nuts and bolts to what's going on. There is progress that needs to be made in this country. I'm focusing on that progress that needs to be made. That's what Bubba Wallace is focusing on by making his statements in NASCAR. That's what a lot of athletes are focused on. A lot of people in society in general are focused on making sure that we draw a line between racist people and people that want good for everybody. That's the bottom line. So look, for as much as this is egregious and the things that have transpired for a long time, look, I grew up in the South. Like, it ain't uncommon for me to see racist people or know what it looks like, or even be surprised or shocked about certain things that tend to happen. The bottom line is this: I'm off that emotional roller coaster. Like, if you're racist, just be that. Come out publicly and be that, and let's separate that, and you be a part of the minority part of society that we want to get to and we think we already are at. So all of that being said, I'm with Stephen A. Like, it is bringing a lot of people to the light, and the hateful ones are fighting their battle because they see it slipping away.
Well, you're not going to hear me say this very, very often, but I want to give major, major kudos to a lot of white folks out there in America, because if it wasn't for them protesting and marching with black individuals, if it wasn't for them, engaging in a kind of resistance to whatever level of oppression we as black people have been feeling in this nation, I don't think some of these white folks would be coming out. I mean, listen, back in the day, they used to wear the sheets and used to cover their identity and their faces, and we didn't know who the hell they were by virtue of that. Now, some black people, a lot of black people will tell you they exist in corporate America. They could be the very people that you're working for, the very people that you're talking to. I happen to be blessed. We happen to be blessed to certainly not have that at this company in our eyes, because we've seen the actions on the part of our executives and what have you over a continuous basis, and the elevated level of sensitivity that this place has shown throughout the years deserves to be commended. There's always work to do. There is no perfect place, make no mistake about it, but I'm incredibly proud to be a part of the Walt Disney and specifically the ESPN family in that regard. Having said all of that, I'm in the minority, because the reality is there's a vast number of people of African American descent in the United States of America that feel subjugated. I wouldn't go so far as to say enslaved, but feel subjugated by bosses in corporate America, people that say all the right things when the cameras are rolling, but behind the scenes they engage in the kind of behavior and the kind of actions and subjugation that they're voiceless. They don't have a voice in that regard, Greenie. Marcus knows exactly what I'm talking about.